Just check the sounds on all the platforms. We're on
Sounds good.
YouTube. Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome into this wonderful Sunday morning. Another Stay Hired Sunday. We are back again. We are back again. It's what we do here. What we do. You guys already know me. I don't run around talking about doing stuff without actually having some plans to do it and making sure it gets done regardless. Had some technical difficulties last week, in which we won't even bring up. We'll just say some technical difficulties. All right. Facebook sound is good. All right, bet. And real quick, let me check my YouTube. Doing this all on my phone, by the way, because there was a situation a couple of weeks ago where I recorded a whole episode and I realized that the damn thing
No
didn't record.
sound.
There was no sound.
No
And
sound.
it was such a great episode. To this day, I'm very paranoid about that kind of stuff because of what happened.
Yep.
All right, so
Makes you better. That's it.
it does. It makes you better. And then LinkedIn, we are good to go. All right, bet. Okay, folks, welcome, welcome, welcome. You see the thumbnail, and you see the day, you see what we're all about here. As one Crookshank here, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator. And I am with the lovely, the great Miss Kimberly Blue, founder of Ardent HR Solutions. How you doing today, Kimberly? How was
I
your
am excellent.
Let's just kind
It
of
was
catch
good.
up. Like I said, we won't get into detail about what happened last week, but just kind of, I guess you put your website out there and stuff. If there's anybody new listening, you kind of put all that stuff out there now before we get started.
Yep. Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome in. Glad to have you on our Stay Hired Sunday. We have some great content for you today. If you'd like to learn more about me, www.ardentHRsolutions.com. And I am happy to be here with you. What is our topic today? I think you have
You
to get
see
other
it.
things done first,
You
right?
see it. You see it right there. Using your own discernment. Now, just like I literally on my way to doing this, I got this idea because I've been going to church every single Sunday for the past couple months. I've become a group leader at the church, gotten to know the pastor, whether it's the campus pastor, and kind of keeping up with the pastor that we see every day, Pastor Groeschel, and sometimes he'll bring in other pastors. And I said to myself, thinking like a pastor and how they get themselves prepared for what they're going to be talking about every Sunday. They bring a message every Sunday. I started to realize that's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly the way I'm living my life right now. In terms of what exactly is the major issue, what's something that I owe my listeners, owe the loyal followers, owe the audience, owe the people that really have been loyal to me for all this time. What is it that I'm going to talk to them about today? And when it comes to staying hired, when it comes to you business owners, and when it comes to all of the people out there that I look to serve, this thing right here, using your own discernment, is a huge, it's a bigger deal than I actually realized it was. All right. So say using your own discernment, we're going to talk specifically about who you bring in on your team, who you hire, who you decide to hand the proverbial keys to in your business. All right. Me personally, I'm going to use the example of college football. All right. My Michigan Wolverines, again, having a horrible year. This year, we had a bye week. This week. So I had the opportunity to watch the famous Colorado Buffaloes. And, we all know the Colorado Buffaloes, Coach Prime, and all the things, all the media attention that he brings to the organization. Now, my second team, the team I do like to see do well, is the Florida State Seminoles. So there are pieces of me that do like to see Coach Prime do well. There's pieces of me that want to see him successful, being somewhat of a supporter of Florida State, somewhat of a supporter of him, somewhat of a supporter of what I like is the way he at least tries to help black coaches. One of the things that he said when he first got hired, Kimberly, and I don't know if I'm educating you on this or not, but he left. I'll just tell you, he left a predominantly black school, HBCU, named Jackson State. And the one thing that he left them for Colorado, which is obviously PWI, predominantly white institution. And the one thing that he he got a lot of backlash for doing that when he got hired 2 years ago. The one thing that he said in the press conference when he was facing that backlash was, "Hey, I'm black, and I did it because very few black coaches were hired in this area of football, in this high level of football." So from that perspective, I can respect what he's trying to do, and whenever I'm
Right.
critical of him, it is not necessarily him that I'm sort of trashing. Whenever I know I get called, "Oh, you a crime hater," that's not what I'm actually doing. I'm actually trashing the national media. All right, that I'll own to the national media, because myself and Kimberly, we're going to get to a lot of what the national media is doing with these narratives and how they push narratives on people, and that affects your business, that affects your bottom line, that affects the people that come in and apply to your business every single day. And what we're here to do is to clarify a lot of stuff and clarify a lot of the misdoings that the national media is doing to get likes and to get comments and to get
Yep.
ratings. All right. So as far as what we're gonna like, I know that was a long way of me explaining using your own discernment. When we're talking about Colorado football, and I got an opportunity to watch them play from start to finish yesterday because my Michigan Wolverines had a bye week, and I didn't see Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. It wasn't just those two. As talented as they weren't the only reasons that they won that game. In fact, if they
Right.
were to lose the game, it was going to be the plays that they messed up on, that they missed, that caused them to lose the game. The reason they won the game is because of a strong front seven, a strong defensive line, a strong linebacking core, kind of the core of the team that was able to stop the Utah Utes from making a lot of plays happen. And I bring that up because what you're going to see if you were to go Google the Colorado Bus right now, or you were to go on ESPN or any one of these national media platforms, you would think that there were two players responsible for the victory. You think that was one coach and two
Right.
players responsible for the victory. So that leads me into the discussion that we're going to have today, because when it comes to using your own discernment, it's a challenging thing when you're competing with the not only a actual business competitor, but you're actually competing with a national media that wants to spin things a certain way and make it so people are only looking at an identity, only looking at a
Yes.
color, only looking at a gender, and then they're basing their decisions based on that. So that translates very well into the working world. And
Yes.
before I talk too much, I want to give Kimberly an opportunity to kind of address it, and then we're going to translate that into some politic news that came up that made it so I had to actually send it to her so I could get her thoughts on it full through. So go ahead.
Yep. So I'll tell you, when we first started talking about it, people are probably like, "How do you use discernment at work?" Right?
Hmm.
But everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
Everyone, But just because you have an opinion doesn't mean that it's fact.
Hmm.
And so, but a lot of times when we hear something, especially if it's reliable sources like the news or the newspaper or
Right.
someone high up in the company, we just say, "Oh, okay, that's what it is."
Yes.
It's not. You have to question the source. You have to
Hmm.
understand the context and what they're doing, because you could take a sentence and it could be nothing or sound nothing like it's supposed to, and they'll grab and take what they want to fit
Hmm.
whatever agenda their personal agenda is. And
Yes.
so, not only in your personal life, your work life, just our everyday life, you have to use discernment. You have to
Hmm.
consider the intent of the speaker, and then understand your own intent and do your own fact finding all the time. Question everything.
Exactly. And so, in a second, I'm going to play you the clip that I was actually referring to. Let me make sure it's already done. All right. 856. And it's good. All right, cool. I'm going to play you the clip that I was referring to that I actually had to send Kimberly. I believe it was this past
This.
Wednesday. I think it was
Hmm.
Wednesday I actually sent it, because I don't. Again, unlike a lot of the people that you're going to see in the national media, I don't pretend to know everything. I really do not know everything. All right. So when it comes to me, I stay in my lane. I stay in the sports lane, and figuring out how to use sports as a way of helping business owners. But when stuff comes up that touches on the topics that I talk about, it really draws my attention. So our new president-elect, Donald Trump, who, again, there's still people out there who still believe that they still want to push the narrative that he's Hitler. They want to push the narrative that he's a fascist. They want to push this narrative over and over again for the same reasons that I just told you about. It gains their audience. It keeps them some level. I don't know why people still listen to it, but it continues to give them some audience, some level of audience in the audience that they want to have. So I'm not going to knock their hustle when it comes to that. But there was something that came up about who he hired to be. What is the position again? He was hired to do something.
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, Secretary of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
Now again, that you ask me exactly what a person like that does. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I don't know what the responsibilities are of a person who is picked to be the Secretary of Defense. But what happened was a YouTuber in which I have subscribed to, shout out to Brandon Tatum, he broke down, hey, this is the way that the national media is painting this hire as a sexist hire, as someone who isn't qualified or whatever it is. So I'm going to play you a few clips and then we're going to respond to it because I'm like, let me call my expert. Let me hit up Kimberly as someone who serves veterans, someone who has built the HR firm based on serving veterans, has family members that going through it, knows exactly what the needs are. Let her look at this information so I don't, just go and talk as if I know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to play these clips and then we're going to respond to it. And if there's any questions or anything like that, either leave them in the chat or email us later because we're not going to be taking questions in these 30 minutes. We'll kind of get to your questions at to next week's episode. So here are the clips.
Department of Government Efficiency, that doesn't exist, but he's made it up. And he's picked the world's richest man, Elon Musk, and another billionaire, Vivek Ramaswamy, to run it. But before anyone could...
Now, think about
it. All right, that's clip number one. All right. Again, all of a sudden, Whoopi Goldberg, known actor, great actor, sister actor, all of a sudden she's become an expert on who needs to be running government positions and stuff like that. Somehow she became an expert at that. Again, I'll have a whole tomorrow. I don't want to get started on Whoopi today. I have a whole episode tomorrow, guys. Make sure you tune in.
Well, I'll start today.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. But let's play this next one just so we have some clarity. We won't get too started on Whoopi. Here's the next one that I pulled.
Not even like regular weekend. Pete Hegseth?
I can't even say his name if you ignorant.
Hegseth?
Yeah.
Okay, Pete Hegseth. And he's picked him to be U.S. Secretary of Defense. Now, MAGA supporters and detractors are trying to figure out what? Because of this pick. But take a look.
Obviously, it's weird, and there's only one reason he's doing it, because he's on Fox News.
Look, I was stunned when I saw it, but then it made all the sense in the world. It also helps that the guy you're looking at is central casting.
This is an incredibly serious time in the world. It's an incredibly serious cabinet position, and I don't think Hegseth is a serious person and a serious pick.
Now, if you're wondering about the impact of this possible new Secretary of Defense.
All right, so first things first, let me just get what I have to say off my chest, and then I'll let you address it. There was, if you guys can recall, particularly Black Americans that are listening to me now, if you can recall, there was a whole segment done when people couldn't say Kamala Harris's name the correct way. They were blasted. They were told, hey, you don't respect her because you don't know how to say her name correctly. And the contradiction that just came when she goes and says this name's Peter Hedge something, the contradiction of her not being called, hey, whoa, learn the guy's name if you're going to report on him. That's a contradiction that does not help Black people. That actually sets us back, because anybody with any level of common sense, anybody that's intelligent, anybody that's even worth your time recognizes the contradiction. And again, man whose name is Aswan Crookshank, who gets his name mispronounced on an everyday basis. That's something I personally had to take personally. But anyway, I'll give you the floor for a second to speak on, when I sent it to you and when you saw it, can you just kind of give your overall thoughts and, educate us a little bit on exactly what we saw, what that whole thing's all about?
Sure. I also shout out to Brandon. That's actually the first time I've seen him, and I'm like, wow, he's awesome. So I definitely watch him. So, they have to understand what their role is. And one of the things I said to you was, okay, if we keep doing the same things over and over again, we're going to get the
Hmm.
same result, right? And so Trump, they fail to remember, is also a successful businessman, not just Elon Musk. So what he's doing is strategic by surrounding himself with like-minded people. Now, they may not like what he says about the military, but that role is to be strategic,
Hmm.
support veterans, crisis management, plan war planning. That's the role. I mean,
Hmm.
in a nutshell, of Secretary of Defense. So let's take a look at him. Okay, what they focused on was that he did he's a news on the weekends. He did news on the weekends, but that's not all he's done. He was served in the army, achieved the rank of a major. He was deployed Iraq, Afghanistan, Guantanamo Bay, earning multiple awards, including the Bronze Star. He has wrote a couple of books. He has a master in public policy and a bachelor of arts in politics. I
Hmm.
told you about the books. He was a former CEO of Concerned Veterans for America.
Hmm.
So I'm failing. I'm failing to see why all of these things do not make him qualified. But if I would have taken just what they were saying,
Yeah.
I would be all up in arms. Oh my God, he's a horrible choice. But
Hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute, let me go look this out because I just
Yes.
don't believe that, someone would do that. And
Hmm.
that's what I found. All of those things. That's why it's important not to get upset, control the initial emotion, because that's what they're playing on
Hmm.
is your initial emotion. And most people don't look past that and they don't do their own research. So I think, I'm appalled that they let it go and they had
Hmm.
multiple people, but you notice everyone that spoke saying it was race and they talked about women and every one of them are against a certain party.
Hmm.
Why do we have to make it about a party? When Biden was in office, if anybody said anything, it was bad. Oh, you're just saying that because you're a Republican. But
Right.
they flip the script and they could say whatever they want. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, it's the leader the American people chose. You don't have to like him, but
Right.
at least respect him. Bottom line, that's what we're supposed to do. So
Now, allow me to kind of allow you to dive deeper into your own resume and your own experience with this, because again, like I said, I'm very in the dark, very much didn't know a lot about military experience. I wasn't any form of military. Nobody that I know of in my family was in the military. What would you say were some of the issues that came up with people that were in this position before, or some of the things that you would have liked to see change? Because he goes in, we didn't play it, but he goes in on other podcasts. They played it on The View, and
mhm,
that he's against women doing certain jobs, and obviously that gets taken out
yeah,
of context, and
it
that
does.
these things get blasted out and they get taken out of context. But again, you're a woman, you serve former veterans, you have a very heartfelt, touching story about your experience there. What are some of the things that you would like to see from your government, and some of the problems that you've seen before when it comes to how they help folks or how they don't help folks?
So number one, I'll address the woman thing
Yeah,
first.
good.
They weren't saying that women should not be in the military.
Hmm.
What they said was, in a battlefield, a man's whole mindset is, I have to take care of the woman. I'm not saying they don't belong in the military, but
Hmm.
let's be realistic and say that it's going to be different because they have a woman standing behind them. And no matter what you say, I'm all for equality. I'm a woman.
Hmm.
But there's going to be things that I can't do that a man does,
Right.
or have a harder time doing it,
Hmm.
and so it's just our genetic makeup. It's
Hmm.
nothing
Hmm.
more, no secret science. It's just the difference,
Right.
and I'm not saying I know everything either.
Hmm.
I'm always learning from the veterans that I work with.
Hmm.
Do I think that things happen in the military to women? Absolutely.
Hmm.
And that is something we'll get into another time.
Yeah.
But for this topic, there's going to be those things.
Right.
And I think that they need to look at that. Diversity and inclusion is important. It's one of the things that I am passionate about.
Yes.
but it doesn't necessarily belong in a place where the focus should be
Yes.
protecting the American citizens.
Right.
You know, that it doesn't belong there. I think you
Hmm.
just have to make the best decision, not put labels on it. We don't need to put labels on it. Who
Right.
is going to be the best person to go to war? Who would
Hmm.
I want beside me going to war if we're going to
Yes.
protect this country? And that's how you got to look at it. Probably an
Right.
unpopular opinion, but it's that's fact.
Yeah, it is fact, and it is necessary that it's coming. It's good that it's coming from you, because again, if it's not coming from someone that doesn't have any experience at it. You do, like I've mentioned. And when it comes to what you've been through, I grew up in Maryland, grew up in like a lot of regular listeners have heard the story a lot. I was around politics, a lot of foreign military, a lot
Yep.
of, even as a football player, there were guys that weren't even thinking about graduating. They were immediately, look, I'm just going to the army and serving my country. They weren't even thinking
Right.
about getting their degree. So I've been around people that have that balance. And I hear such a negative, kind of a negative rap on how things were going for them when they left. You know, the colleague, I say, shout out to Anthony if you're listening, but the colleague that I was referring to before, he does things. He does things with the mindset of, I know I could do better. And you know, like you had mentioned, it's hard for him to brag about himself because that's not his mindset. I'm just
No.
curious now, what policies can somebody like him put in place that, I mean, not, listen, again, guys, this is all
I am excited
hearsay,
about him.
because yeah, that's what I said. I didn't,
Yeah.
everything you just named off, the books and the graduates and how he got the book, all the experience he actually has. If it not been for you, Kimberly, I would have just thought that, I guess that's just a dude from Fox and Friends, right? But he
Right.
actually has an experience, a very complex experience. What do, if you were, I'll say, if you were working with him, if you had the opportunity to meet with him, what would be some of the policies and some of the things that you would kind of advise him to strategically put in place to make life easier for veterans, to make life easier for former military people just like him?
So many things, but number one, their health care and mental care.
Hmm.
You know, that we have 22 veterans a day that commit suicide. And
Oh,
that is in itself, when you hear about how
oh my God,
Biden opened the borders and we're paying all this money to
Jesus
people
Christ.
that have not served our country. Meanwhile, we have 22 veterans a day who commit suicide.
She
That
said a
is not
day,
okay.
folks. I mean, I have to pause because
Yeah.
that actually gave me goosebumps. That's a day. That's not, I mean, that's a day. All right, folks. And for people to be irresponsibly pushing their own agenda on you without doing their proper research, it should piss you off. It definitely should piss you off. It should make you emotional. It should make you realize, hey, I got to do something. It is not right. It's not right.
It's
I
not.
know what I mean. It's not right for folks to be, and again, I'm not saying that everything the man does is correct, nor am I saying everything he does is wrong.
No.
I'm saying it's so important for you, business owner, the real person with the real power in this country. In fact, I remember actually there was the morning after his assassination attempt. I remember doing a take on the fact that the founder of Dick's Sporting Goods, at one point, he took guns off. He stopped selling guns. Dick's Sporting Goods stopped selling guns, which tells you that you as an owner, you as the person that is responsible for hiring and structuring your business and selling the things that need to be sold, the services, whatever. It's on you, folks. It's on you to actually take these responsibilities. I
Right.
asked her this out of the blue, and the first thing that she thought of was Medicare. And now I'm making the connection where I'm realizing, okay, Medicare, they probably realize they don't have as much, they can't afford this, and all of a sudden it's like, why is
Yep.
life worth living at this point? Bang.
Well,
Something
that's
small.
the biggest thing. Like,
You know what I'm saying?
you know,
Something that small though, and that's what got me just now.
yes.
Because again, you can't. Maybe you can see, but people here can see. I have goosebumps. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
It should give everybody
Yeah.
goosebumps because they, any veteran I've ever known, I've never, and the podcaster talked about this too, but it's so true.
Hmm.
I've never heard a veteran say, "Oh, the VA is great. I'm getting the best medical care, best mental care."
Hmm.
That is not true. And I'm not begging them. I know I don't go to them. I'm going by what I've been told.
Hmm.
But they can, if they're just doing policies from 1970 and just doing what they've always done,
Right.
and they can't do that. And one of the things that he would do is VA. Talk about veteran homelessness.
Mhm.
veteran suicide. Let's give them the mental health that they need
Right.
so we can change that 22 a day.
Mm.
That right there is the biggest thing, loss of life.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
already lose them when they're in war. Why are we
Mm.
going to keep losing them when they come back home?
Right.
And
Man.
that right there should be enough, with his past history of
Mhm.
having a company for veteran support.
Man.
He's the right person for me.
Mhm.
Who better than someone that lived it himself?
Wow. And
So,
listen, I very rarely am, and you guys know me, I can talk a lot when I get going on certain things, but I feel like you need to be someone that kind of takes the lead on this whole topic because had it not been like you really just educated me on a lot of things that I was very unaware of, because when you're in the content creation game as heavy as I am, you tend to focus on the topics that I can speak on, the topics that I'm an expert on, the things that I know how to speak about and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing, because we only got about 5 minutes left on here, but is you have to humble yourself, folks. You've got to humble yourself and realize, hey, I do not have all the answers. And I get that in many ways that can be a scary thought because you don't know what's on the other side of that. You're going to lose some friends, you're going to lose some followers, you're going to lose some.
yes.
Yeah, you may lose some money even, but we live in a country now that is very connected. It's very much where if people don't like what you're saying, they just won't listen to you. They're just gonna move on. Again, me myself, I'm proud to say I've never watched a full episode of The View, and I don't ever plan on. Thank God for my brain cells that I haven't tuned in for more than maybe 5 minutes. If you add up all the clips, the only time I actually see them is when someone else is, trashing or
Sure.
debating and calling out the stuff that they say. And I say that because you have the opportunity to do. Matter of fact, let me not say the opportunity. You have the responsibility. If you're listening to us right now, if you tune into my work, you have the responsibility to do that as an owner, not to allow yourself to fall into this victim Olympics and run in the victim Olympics and run into a victim mindset, because when you do that, it spreads, man. I mean, we were just chatting earlier, now that you're in an office, that victim mentality, that victimhood mindset, it's going to start spreading. It's like a cancer where now you have an entire office that they only care about their breaks. They only care about, when they're getting off. They only care about,
Yeah.
okay, am I getting overtime? Am I getting paid more?
Yeah.
You brought up the whole gender equality thing. It's funny how there's so many women out there who complain about it only when there's a six-figure salary attached to, okay, now you want this position. But if you want a position, go in and have a great mentor. Shout out to Dre, who would ask the question, how come, so many women aren't asking to go out there and, dig concrete and create, build roads and, make concrete and do that kind of work? How come it's only when there's a six-figure salary or a title with a six-figure salary, now all of a sudden, we become misogynists for wanting certain people for certain positions? You got to keep it both ways. You got to be consistent with it. And
Yeah.
I'm just excited I'm excited the fact that we live in a world now where we can call people out on their shit. We can call people out
Right.
on nonsense. We can
It's
recognize
not popular, but
it.
you know what? We have to hold each other
Exactly.
accountable.
What we have to do, we
Yeah.
have to hold each other accountable. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of my rant for the day. I'll give you the last word on anything you want to share, anything you want to kind of put out there. We only, got a couple
Okay.
minutes. I'll check to see if there's any questions. I don't think there were
Okay.
any questions at all, but
So
I'll
I
check
think,
back to see. But
check.
I'll let you kind of get the last word.
All right. So I'd say avoid blind acceptance. Don't just accept something that people say. Understand the nuance, understand where the person's coming from. Whether they have a different belief than you or not, it doesn't mean that they're always wrong. You should fact check anybody and balance your emotional and rational response to what people are telling you.
Mhm.
That's just a couple of things. I told you earlier, I'm going to put some critical thinking. I'm going to put something together so we
Mhm.
can send it out to the listeners. And just a reminder, sometimes we need reminding. So I'll get
Mhm.
that together and you can have it on the website by tomorrow. I'll have it done for you and sent to you. And reach out with me with questions. Sometimes you just need to talk it out with someone
Mhm.
that you may not know personally, but you're going to work with them to kind of work through things. And you can definitely reach me anytime for that.
Well, I am here for it, folks. Let me tell you, we are just getting started here on these Stay Hired Sundays. She'll tell you, man, I've almost become like a tech pro out here, putting
You
new
have.
banners up, getting clips ready. All this stuff is new to me, man. So look, I personally am loving it, regardless of how
We've been pushing each other, which is
we've been
good because it's
pushing each
making us
other.
learn.
Yeah, man. So I'm looking forward to having you back next week, and I'm looking forward for the show to just keep getting better and better and better. My people over here in the Palm Beach area, they're loving the scenery. They like, we talk with each other all the time every Sunday and all that. So I'm good. I'm happy, man. It's been it's going to be a great 2025. It really is. So again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work. It's makeyourmove.com. Any business owners out there who have yet to get their free guide on how to reduce turnover, it's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Just simply hit the link there, and something will be sent over to you immediately when you get it. It'll be automatically sent over to you. 10 ways to use innovative teamwork to reduce the turnover in your business. Out here signing out. Like I said, I've mentioned the main website already. Is there anything else you want to mention before we actually sign out?
Nope. Reach out with any questions. Have a great week. Make it amazing.
All right, guys. We'll talk more soon.